I'm gonna try and do like an actual intro for this video because I realized I never really do that, and that may be disorienting for people who haven't watched me before. So, hi. Nice to meet you, my name is Mo. Welcome to the cabin, thanks for dropping by. Today I'm going to be attempting to redesign one of my oldest character designs, but in a way that still kind of makes it look like that character. I'm not sure if that makes sense to anybody else, but it makes sense to me, so I'm rolling with it. If you're new here and you don't know who I am or what I do, my name is Mo and I mostly make comics. I'm also currently in college for animation, but I'm not sure where that's going, so I'll update you on that. Anyway, I have been creating and writing characters from a very early age. My first characters that I ever gave story to, I made in grade 8, so I would have been around 12 or 13 years old. And it was with those first characters that I made my first ever comic called Phantasi, which you can still find on some platforms. Phantasi, spelled it differently because I'm quirky like that. Unlike the one that I'm currently writing, this comic had a main antagonist, because back then I didn't know that you could write a story and not have a main antagonist. You can do that. I didn't know you could do that. So enter ScatterBrain, the first antagonist I ever wrote. Probably, I think the last two, because she just kept getting redesigned. And yeah, anyway, I created ScatterBrain because I was working on a portfolio to get into an art high school, and one of the requirements for that portfolio was I had to make a mind map of some sort and like kind of explain my creative journey through art. I didn't really know how to go about doing that, so my mom was helping me and giving me some ideas, and when I tried to explain what my thought process was like when making art, she called me a scatterbrain. In a loving way, you know, that like insult but like I love you kind of way. Anyway, she called me a scatterbrain and that gave me an idea, and so when she left my room I started sketching out this character that was like kind of a ragdoll demon thing. It was like a conglomerate of different parts of different types of animals and stuff. It looked like a failed science experiment and I kind of loved it. It was like a Frankenstein kind of monster thingy, you know? And of course I named her Scatterbrain because it was just right, you know? It was just right. And so boom, this monstrosity of a character was then created. And, you know, I thought it was a good thing that it looked like a Frankenstein kind of mess, but I didn't really know at the time that, you know, sometimes you can go too overboard and then it just doesn't work. I gotta cut myself some slack though, because I was like literally 13 and had no experience with character design like at all, so I didn't know I didn't know when to stop at that age. I didn't know what the threshold was. Now I have a deeper understanding of character design as I have redesigned my main cast of characters over and over and over again. But then a thought came to mind, because a lot of my character designs are very simple because I use them in comics. When making character designs for animation or comics, you don't really want them to be super complicated because you're gonna have to draw that design hundreds of times over, so you want to be able to either memorize it or have it at least be kind of easy so you can get it done quicker. Recently I've been drawing old character designs of mine so that I can give my audience some kind of content while my comic is on hiatus, and I kind of rediscovered how drastically Scatterbrain, aka Sawyer now, has changed. They've changed so much so that I don't even really consider them the same character because they're so different, like personality and design wise. They're so different. So I haven't really considered them the same character for a long time now, until I realized that they quite literally are the same character. Because in one of my story rewrites, I made Scatterbrain a good person, like a good guy, and their design changed drastically because I turned them into a human from this like ragdoll thing. So they look really different, but they're still the same character, and I have to remind myself of that because I used to use she/her pronouns for Scatterbrain, but Sawyer uses they/them pronouns, so I apologize if I slip up. Anyway, they look really different, and I only ever really drew the original design of Scatterbrain like 3 times, and only one of those I can actually find. It was a Goretober thing, so mind the blood. But anyway, this isn't the point though. We're 4 minutes in, I haven't even explained the objective. So I wanted to test how far my character design capabilities have come, and I wanted to see if I could take this monstrosity of a character design and change it into something that could maybe be used in something like a comic or an animation. I don't think it would, because I mean there is still a lot of detail to it, so I don't know, but it's certainly a better character design, so I wanted to see if I could do that, and I think I did pretty well. But I'm gonna explain explain some of my choices. So one of the main themes of ScatterBrain's original design is she's a doll. She has a bunch of stitching everywhere, she's kind of got mismatched colors, it kind of looks unkept, and I wanted to really lean into that and also lean into the kind of Halloween-y color palette that she had, because she had a lot of oranges and purples and some black, and I wanted to lean into that as much as I could. So I made her arms longer than they should be to accentuate that creepy factor. I still wanted them to look unhinged and creepy. I wanted them to look like an older doll that hasn't really been taken care of that well. Kind of lean into that whole Halloween theme that I had going on. I really gotta think of a word other than lean into, because I've said that way too many times already. I gave them only 3 fingers to accentuate the fact that they are not human, and each of those fingers are long and sharp. I still gave them their ears and horns because I still want them to look like the same character, just a revamped version of them. So I didn't want to take away too many aspects. However, I was really conflicted on whether I should or shouldn't give them a tail, because I didn't want it to take away from the ragdoll effect, but at the same time the ears and horns kind of took away from that already, so I wasn't sure. I ended up going with kind of a loose string looking tail. I wanted to give them a piece of string with a needle on the end for the tail, but I felt the needle looked out of place, so I just gave them a stringy tail. Again, in ScatterBrain's original design, they had a consistent black eye. That eye was always supposed to be kind of like a dead eye, so I changed that eye into a button. I also made their other iris a button and made their sclera black for that eye. I wanted the color palette to mainly be black, orange, and purple, so I tried to use more black this time because in their other design, I think the only black part about them was their shorts. I felt I shouldn't change their hair color since that was a pretty prominent thing about them, and again, I want this to look like the same character, but just a better version of character design. So I kept the green hair, which I think is a nice contrast against all the orange and purple and like warmer tones. But to add to the idea that they're an older doll and was kind of unkept, I decided to give them some lighter streaks in their hair. I don't know why that would reference them being unkept, and I thought it looked cool, so I added it. I kept the ponytail as well, because they always had their hair tied back into a ponytail in their older designs. I liked the aesthetic of the buttons. It reminds me of Coraline, and Coraline is like a pretty creepy film, but it's still kind of kid-friendly, so I wanted to experiment with that theme and put a button on her chest, or sorry, their chest, and on their tummy as like a belly button, but I didn't want to add a belly button because they're not like a living thing, they're just a little creature. Also, the buttons really make them look like they are a doll, so I liked the addition of that. Sometimes you just gotta put something on the chest area of a character because it just looks too bland. Usually I put like a little pattern or a necklace or something, but a button seemed fitting, so I went with that. I added some loose string swirls coming off of their arms and legs to push into the idea that they're kind of unhinged, so they're kind of coming apart, you know? And in their original design, they have polka dots on their legs. They have little polka dots, and I experimented with that earlier. You probably saw earlier in the video, but I didn't think it looked that great, and I wanted to lean into the Halloween theme, and I felt it was more, I don't know what it is about stripes that's more Halloween-y to me, but they are. And I like stripes. I really like stripes. I prefer stripes over polka dots, so I gave them some stripes. I also discovered there's a way to make mismatched things still look put together. So on their arms and legs, the top halves are solid colors and then the bottom halves are stripes. But it's still mismatching because their left arm goes orange and then purple, and then their left leg goes purple and then orange, and then it's vice versa for the other side. So it's still mismatched, but it's like a pattern, so it kind of looks put together, but it's not. It's a trick. We tricked you. I also contemplated giving them lighter green eyes, but I figured that would be too much green on the top and maybe just their hair should be green. So I went with the orange and purple irises, or slash buttons. This is the final product. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. I certainly enjoyed creating it. If you would like me to do another type of video like this where I take another old character design and try and remake it but still have it look like the character, I would love to, because this was really fun. And I like the shading style that I did for this too. I've never done it before. Wanted to try it out. That's all I have for this video. Thank you for watching. If you're feeling generous, maybe consider subscribing or commenting. It helps get my work out there, and that can bring up some really good opportunities for me. Still not quite used to the self-promoting. I'm trying to get better at this. You can find all of my socials in the description and on the screen right now, along with the links and information on where to find my comic. Thank you again, and I hope you have a good day. You keep my life bright, my lights. Bye!